NBA 2K20 tutorial number 41. Today we're going to talk about how to make it in the Combine as a power forward. Yes, playing as the 4 from the corner. Now we will study in detail how you have the option to actually play in majorly different ways to make it in the Combine as a power forward. So if you enjoy my tutorials and you would like to see more, make sure you click on the link above or below in my description for all of my gameplay tutorials that can help you improve your game, and also the rest of my Combine tutorials that you can use to help yourself get into the 2K League. Now, let's talk about power forwards. Now, for power forwards, you need to focus on offensive rating and defensive rating and being a two-way player. So if you don't know the other advanced stats that I will be talking about, the EFG, the usage, all of that, just go to the Combine tutorial playlist and catch up on those definitions. If you're watching these videos later than everybody else, I won't explain them over here. I will just mention them. So watch the other Combine tutorials if you need to. Now, we are focusing on power forwards today and how the pool players that did made it in as a power forward, so that there were 25 of them in the final phase. All of these guys were two-way forces in the game. Now, previously we focused on the pool attack guards, so the top 25 or top 50 point guard and shooting guards. And all of those guys were mostly ORTG focused and very high usage. Like their DRRTG didn't matter too much because they weren't about that. They had to be high RTG, high usage, high EFG. Now, but we also talked about pool locks previously. Those are the small forwards and shooting guards that chose to use the lock build. And those guys were great at DRTG with relatively low ORTG, but the locks had incredibly low usage rate. And all of these guys, all of the pool players, they won at least more than 66 to 67% of the game. And some of them reach high 80s, but they had all excellent advanced stats. Now, in terms of the power forward spot, alright, like a pool level power forward in the Combine always had great ORTG and TERTG differential. And they can usually do it with high usage or low usage rate. This is because when you're in the Combine, like the pool level power forwards, they're extremely versatile and you can play that position with a lot of versatility. But what you do need though is all of the pool power forwards were excellent corner defenders, and they were all great secondary rebounders. Combine power forward is a position where you do all the little things right on both ends, and that entry spot for the 4 is truly reserved for smart two-way players. And honestly, this is great news because the power forward spot is kind of like, if you are good with the ball, sure, you can have it and you can be like a high usage transition scoring corner attacking power forward. Your team will let you do that. But if you're just a great shooter, not so great with the ball, then you can just sit in the corner and be a stretch 4, help your team space out the offense, which is going to increase your ORTG, hit the open shots that you're going to get, and grab your offensive boards, which is going to give you crazy ORTG, low usage rate too. And if you're good at rebounding, that's also great. So you can play the power forward spot in every which way. Like, you can win a spot as a power forward going maybe 11% usage, and at the same time you can win it going at 22% usage. So you can be anything you need to be or you are great at as a power forward in the Combine and make it into the pool either way. Now, there are many ways to play this position and get in the Combine, so let's take a look at the advanced stats, or the very different advanced stats that were the pool power forwards who made it. So let's focus on these two guys. So these were two power forwards who got into the pool with low usage rate, and they both decided to use the stretch 4 build that was in the Combine. So the best 3-point shooting build. It was a sharp shooting rebounder, or rebounding sharpshooter. This was season 2, right? So anyhow, so these were, let's just call them stretch 4s, alright? So you can see player A, his traditional stats were 14 points per game, 3.5 assists, 5.5 rebounds, 1.5 steals, and around 1 turnover a game. Now, those don't really matter, just giving you reference, because all that truly matters are the advanced stats. The winning percentage of player A is 65%, usage rate is 14%, EFG at 87, ORTG at 164, and DRTG at 123. Now let's take a look at player B. Player B, also a stretch 4 build, with my favorite all-time Combine stat line that made it into the pool and made it into the league and is retained and is a great player in the league. 11 points per game, 4.5 assists, 8 rebounds, 3 steals, 0.7 turnovers, traditional stats. Advanced stats for player B, 78% winning, 13% usage rate, 84% EFG, ORTG of 170, and yes, a stretch 4 with a DRTG of 114. Okay, let's talk. So obviously, player B was the better stretch 4 than player A. These are the two top stretch 4s. There were other ones that made it, but player B was the top one. Player A was the worst one, the worst stretch 4 that made it to the pool. So he's not bad, it's just relatively speaking he was bad in the pool. Now, you can tell, over these guys, points per game, barely scored. So if you're scoring 14 a game, per game, that means, or 11, that means half the time you're scoring less than that. So player B had plenty of single digit games. So if you go into the combine as a power forward, you'd be like, Sam, I'm not gonna make it in the league, man. I'm scoring these like single point games like half the time. I'm not gonna do it. No. Like I said, it's not about that. It's your advanced stats, not your traditional. So I hope by seeing player A and player B here, you guys get that point now, right? I mean, these two are scoring like literally half the time player B is scoring less than 10 points. Like, it looks bad, but it's not. Now, let's talk advanced stats. Player A at this winning percentage of 65, that was the lowest. So that's the cutoff. Like I told you guys, that is the lowest winning percentage you are likely going to get into the league. Anything lower than that, you're really pushing it. You're probably not going to make it. You're really pushing it. So 65, that's the lowest, but he still made it. You can tell both stretch 4s had really low usage at 14 and 13, so same thing. So these guys were pretty much in the corner just catching and shooting. Like 13 to 14% if you want a real life example, that will be literally like the offensive usage rate of like an Avery Bradley or like a Patrick Beverly. So you can imagine how little that is. EFGs are ridiculous for both guys. 87% for player A, 84% for player B. And if you're wondering why, very simple. These are stretch 4 builds. These guys are literally hitting pick and fade wing freeze, which is going to trigger a lot of like shooting badges. Or they were shooting wide open corner freeze from either the left or right corner, which they're very suited on. And these guys barely took any 2s. They never posted up. So that's why the EFG is so high. And if anything they take as a 2, it's either going to be in transition or it's just going to be a putback. So incredibly high EFG for these power forwards, and they're designed to do so. But still, these guys hit an incredibly high rate of freeze. So your shot timing, if you're planning to be a stretch 4, very important. Now, look at the ORTG. 164 for player A, 170 for player B. If you refer back to previously, these guys' ORTG are just as high as the top point guards that were like dominating the ball, getting like 30 points and 70 assists, or 26 points and 14 assists. Player B had an ORTG higher than player B from the point guard section. This is because when you use a stretch 4, your team is going to score better. So it doesn't matter who player A or player B played with. Because they were stretch 4s and they were hitting the shots and spacing the floors, their team scored per 100 possessions at a rate of 170 and 164, which were very in line, if anything, slightly above average on average ORTG of all the pool players. And in case you're really wondering why that is the case, this is because you see how player B has 8 rebounds while player A has 5.5. Extremely high numbers considering their PFs. But you also got to understand, these two power forwards, a majority of the power forwards really who made it in the league, they grabbed a lot of offensive boards. And if you grab an offensive board, it increases your ORTG because that's an extra possession, but it's already considered as like a useful one because you grab the offensive board, which usually leads to either kick-out assists or putbacks. So that's why you can see player A and player B also has very high assist numbers for power forwards, especially player B, who was a god at this, grabbing all offensive boards and then kicking it out for immediate assists that were usually 3-pointers anyways. That's why the guy had 4.5 assists. So that's why the ORTG was so high. Now, if you look at take a look at the DRTG, player A at 123, player B at 114. Both excellent numbers again. DRTG 123 is right around the average, or right below, really. Pretty good, like much better than average for player A, and player B has an elite DRTG of 114. That's on the same level as some of the best locks that had their TRTG at around 111 to 118. So if you're wondering this is because both players had extremely devastating corner defense. Player A was okay at 1.5 steals, but the baiting was intense. Player B, once again, the best power forward stretch ever at 3 steals a game. Using a stretch, right? He's jacking up his DRTG, really helping his team on defense. So that's how these two guys did it. And you can see the stat lines right there. You don't need 20 points heck, you don't even need 15 points. You could probably make it with 9 points. Like player B, if he had the same stat line and scored 2 less points a game, he still would have made the league because his assists, offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, steals, and he never turns the ball over, like ever. And he's always helping his team score or do well. ORTG, DRTG says so. Incredibly high shooting. Player B and player A are what you gotta strive for if you plan to be a low usage power forward. Now, what if you want to be high usage because that's your skill set, because you can score from the corner. So let's take a look. Here are 2 power forwards who got into the pool with high usage rate, and both were using the sharp slasher build that was available in the combine once again previous year. So player A, traditional stats, power forward again, 21 points per game, 3.5 assists, 6 rebounds, 4.5 steals, 1 turnover. Advanced stats, 70% winning, 23% usage rate, 79% EFG, 153 ORTG, 105 DRTG. Let's take a look at player B. 19 points per game, 4.5 assists, 5.5 rebounds, a godly 5.5 steals, 2 turnovers, very high turnover rate, 67% winning, 75% EFG, 22% usage rate, ORTG of 152, and a DRTG of 113. So, once again, both of these guys, power forward. The winning percentage is not insane here. 70-67 is right around the lower end of all pool players across all positions. Power forwards, these will be average, but like 67 is still relatively low. That's not a lot of wins. I mean, it's still a lot of wins, obviously, but once again, we're talking relatively. But out of 40, that's not doable. Now, but you can see these 2 guys, much higher usage rate. One at 23, one at 22, very similar, but both scored more. But they were scoring more 2s. That's how you can see the EFG are not in the 80s, 79 for player A, 75 for player B. These guys are scoring a lot of transition 2s because they're slashers, so they're leaking out early, or they're just isoing from the corner. Good with the triple threat move, good at cutting. Both of these guys cut a lot from the corner. That's why they got a lot of the 2s. As you can see, because they weren't stretch 4, even though they scored more, they scored a lot more. Like player B here scored 8 more points than stretch 4 player B, and player A here scored 7 more points than stretch 4 player A. But both of these 2s, the ORTG is way lower. Like ORTG 152 and 153. The previous stretch 4 guys, they were at like 160, 170. So as you can tell, it's better for the team if you were stretching the floor out, but it's better for your own, I guess, traditional stats if you're like a slasher. But advanced stats would say otherwise, because the stretch 4s technically will be seen as better team offensive players. However, the sharp slasher build that was available in the combine was a much better defensive build than the stretch 4 for a very simple fact that it was hella fast. Like way faster than the rebounding stretch. And because these guys were great defensive players, you can see their steal numbers were ridiculous at 4.5 steals and 5.5 steals. And their overall DRTG, legendary. Player A at 105 DRTG, player B at 113 DRTG. That means these guys were grabbing offensive boards, defensive boards, and you can even see from the traditional steals numbers, like 4.5 steals a game, 5.5 steals for player B. Player B is an excellent corner defender, and that has transitioned into the league. He's one of the best corner defenders in the league. So the numbers reflect that. You can see that from the steals, and most importantly, you can see that in the DRTG. If the DRTG is 113, those 5.5 steals are literally fantastic steals. They are not gambling steals, they're not lucky steals, they are steals because player B or player A at 105 and 4.5. Like, these are steals because they're highly intelligent. Advanced stats will show that. So don't chase steal numbers. Chase for DRTG, which comes from rebounding, great shot contest. And if you can steal it, obviously steal the damn ball, but don't look to steal. Player B is just... Player A and player B here are baiting steals. Now, player B's turnover is way too high for a power forward. Hence why the winning percentage is a little bit lower, but sometimes you gotta take things in your own hands. Player B is that kind of player. Nothing wrong with that. He made it into the pool, he made it in the league. It's fine. But as you can tell, even though player B got things, like he tried to take over sometimes. It's only 2 turnovers. I mean, like, it's not like we're not talking 4 turnovers there. Like 4 turnovers, he'd be done. So even for player B, who relatively took the ball more often than the rest of the pool power forwards, it's fine. Like 2 turnovers is still excellent. Like amazing. Top 25 in the world in the combine. but relatively speaking, that's the highest that was with power forwards who made it. It's still not too high, but that's the highest. So these are the kind of crazy stats you're all aspiring to. But here, as you can tell, between these two power forwards, you can still also make it in at a high usage rate. But you can tell the traditional stats it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Like, we got a guy making it with 21, we got a guy making it at 11. It's not that. It's your winning percentage, it's your usage rate. Because even then, I say it's higher for these two slashing power forwards. It's still not that high. 23% you're looking at real life would be like Chris Middleton. So, is that high? It's okay, but like definitely not touching the ball the most. I mean, there's still like another 80% that can go around for everybody else. So the point guard can still have his 35% usage rate, and these two power forwards will still get the ball enough. So you're not chasing for that. You don't need the ball all the damn time, right? You just need to score. Because even though these usage rates are high, you gotta understand, these guys are probably just getting like a transition dunk. So it's not like their usage. How long you're touching the ball has nothing to do with usage rate. You can literally never take a dribble in a game and still have like 20% usage rate because you kept dunking it in transition. Because when you dunk it, and you score, that counts as your possession, like you ended it. So like that would increase your usage rate, but like you literally touched the ball for 2 seconds. That's what these guys are. So don't be fooled by that usage rate and those points per game. They weren't holding the ball in the corner and like jabbing like a Melo for like the whole game. And they did that for like maybe a few possessions, but not that many. Majority of the time, these guys just scored in transition or backdoors, which will still increase your usage rate because you're taking twos. And that's why you can tell the EFG is not that high relative to the rest of the pool, because they took twos on backdoors and cuts. Alright, so there you go. If you got any questions about power forwards, ask away. And obviously the center one is the only one left now. I will do that by the end of this week. It's just I had to do all these before I do the center ones, because that was such a the center was such a complicated position in the combine. Like it's still going to be complicated because it's very hard to measure. I mean, they do a good job measuring it. It's just hard to explain it to you guys, because like center stats all look the same, but like you can really differentiate who's actually better if you look at the ORTG and DRTG. I won't give any spoilers here, but we'll talk about centers likely on maybe in 2 or 3 days after we discuss the power forwards here. If you guys got any questions, I'll answer them. As always, shout out to Bucks Gaming. I know these are helping you guys, and I'm glad and grateful that I can do them for you guys. It's just there's not a lot of people. I mean, relatively speaking, like it's 7,000 people watching, a lot, sure, but at the same time, is that enough? Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like this combine is gonna have at least like maybe 10,000 or 20,000 people in it, so there's still gonna be a lot of randoms. But at least now you know the randoms can suck and it doesn't really affect you, because there are ways to play around it. You can get good advanced stats. Like if the guy wants to take every shot, you're just gonna sit in the corner and hit some open threes, space out the floor, help them win. Because like you see, you can make it in with 65% winning. 65% winning is literally you're winning 6 to 7 games every 10 games. That's not too bad. Like we're looking at 12 plus 14, so 28 out of 40 wins. Like 28 wins out of 40 games is around 65%. So it's not the end of the world. Like that's doable. If you're a great player, you should be able to pull that off, especially in a large body size of 40 games, where sometimes you're gonna run into great teammates, sometimes you're gonna run into bad teammates. Understand your advanced stats, get prepared for the combine. You have to be prepared, because the first game, if you play it wrong, the first game can make or break you. Because I know to you it's game 1, but it's not game 1. It's one game of the 40. If it's still 40, let's just say it's 40. It's one game of the 40 you have to play. So you can really mess up your entire sample size of 40 with one terrible game. So go in prepared. Do not go in blind. Right? This is a test. You have to prepare for your tests. That's what I'm helping you do. This is test preparation. Okay? So thanks for coming by, and I'll speak to you guys again very soon.